My Life in Letters, we're back. Let's do it again. Today on the phone, we got my man Jolt One from Burn Unit, NWC. We got him on the phone. He's out there in Denver, Colorado. Blessed to have you here, man. Thanks for taking the time. How you doing?
I'm great. Thank you for having me.
Hell
I
yeah.
appreciate the opportunity.
I'm really excited, man. You know, we got to meet a few years ago. We got to put some paint down. You're a stand-up dude, and from what it seems to me in Denver, you know, you're one of the guys. You're one of the tastemakers out there. You're doing your thing, kind of on the regular, and
Yes, sir.
We see it, and it's good. You know.
Thank you.
Yeah, and so you know, like all of these interviews, I do what I can to dig into our past. You know, knowing where we came from will just serve us that much more for where we're going. And I think that
Absolutely.
people really appreciate learning about our history. You rolling up trees out there? Is that what I hear?
That's exactly what I'm doing. Yeah, man. It's 9 in the morning, you know, and I'm coming to you straight from West Side, Mile High City, the heart of it.
That's what's up.
And
hey,
I'm very Denver in every aspect of the word. So
I'm
yeah,
envious right now. I kind of wish I was rolling them trees.
I start the mornings, and actually my trees that I have right now is some Bubba Kush straight from Bubba.
Wow.
From Bubba himself. So yes, I am rolling up some good weed.
Listeners, when you hear that little crinkle, you know what it is.
Yeah, I might cough a little during this
all
interview,
good,
but
all
it's
good.
all right. We'll get through it.
Yeah. But so yeah, dude, I'm like really interested. Because are you born and raised inside of Denver?
Yeah, man. I'm born and raised. I'm from North Denver.
And-
I was born at Denver General, which is like that's the heart of the city where that hospital is in itself.
And what year were you born?
1981.
Oh, you're a young buck.
Yeah,
youngster.
man.
Look at
I
you.
feel young. So yeah.
And so, you know, like, first of all, we had East on the show, right? And he's a Denver resident, but we all know that he's actually a Midwestern local. But so this is exciting, right? You're the first Denver born and bred cat that we've had on the show. So I'm really excited to learn a little bit more about the Denver scene, the Colorado scene. And so I'm interested in your personal experience or memory of lettering as a child.
Absolutely. Yeah, man, it would go back to, you know, I would say when I was 5, 6, 7 years old as a real little kid. I had already begun trying to draw letters from like lowrider art there. My pops was a car guy, so pinstriping was something that was going on in my household since I was a little kid. My dad did tattoos too, so I watched, you know, him give tattoos at the kitchen table.
Nice.
The graffiti in my neighborhood was there from the beginning, from day one. Neon signage. There used to be a mortuary by my house called Olinger's. They had this crazy neon sign. The letters from that stand out to me. I mean, I remember badges from cars, like the Imperial lettering on cars, or you know, the Impala lettering,
Right.
or old Chevy bow tie logos.
You know, man, you're the first person actually to bring that up, like that lettering on classic kind of muscle cars, American cars. No one's brought that up, and that's like really, that's a distinct style. So I'm glad that you mentioned that.
Yeah, all of that has always stuck with me to this day. All, you know, neon signage and tattoos and graffiti
And vintage
you know,
cars. I mean, I know you
vintage cars.
You got this ill Astro van. If people don't know, you got like this badass flat black, no window, creepy looking Astro van. But that thing, yo, I love that car. And then
It's in the process right now of having some candelabras welded to it.
Oh wow.
Yeah, we're going all gothic with it, man. The
Nice.
band's name is Elvira. So
Yeah, that's right.
Elvira is actually from here, from Denver. So it's not only like, you know, a shout to like the gothic side of things, but also a Denver representation.
Wait, Elvira, the woman?
Yeah,
Oh,
Elvira.
really?
Elvira,
Ah.
Mistress of the Night.
I didn't know
real
she was
sexy gothic lady.
dope.
That,
But
you
do
know,
you also-
she's still kicking.
Do you have another car? I feel like I seen you in like a convertible.
Yeah, I have a few cars, man. I have a few cars. I have right now I have a 72 Cutlass full restore.
Wow.
I have a 1970 Impala I just finished with. I have a new one I'm starting on that I haven't shown nobody, but I'll break it out this summer. Another old school that's real fly.
Dang.
Motorcycles, cars, definitely still very much so into that.
And that's just like a part of the Denver culture, I presume, right? Like people still drive. Like it's a driving
Absolutely.
city. I mean, people are probably
Oh,
biking a
absolutely.
lot more now, but it's a driving city.
No, it's a driving city. It's laid out like a West Coast, like like LA,
Hmm.
same kind of layout.
Right.
Definitely a driving city, cruising city. The car culture goes way back here and is kind of resurfacing as my city starts to really change a lot.
Yeah.
You see the culture fighting back, and people are kind of, it's a opportunity to just own the streets, to come out and just represent and be a part of the city. So,
Dude, I like that. I like that kind of like that idea of like owning the streets. I think that's kind of cool. Maybe we'll touch back on that in a second. But so you had mentioned as like a little kid, 5, 6, 7, you're seeing, like you said, pinstriping, tattooing, lettering on cars, and this is around 87, 88 for you. And
yeah.
so like I'm curious also, did you start at that time drawing on your own? Were you copying what your pops was doing? How did
Yeah, I was already doing all that, copying everything that my father was doing.
Mhm.
And then I started doing graffiti when I was about 8 years old.
Okay. So that was
So
around 89 or 90.
so this is like, I've been doing this forever, since as far
Hmm.
back as I can remember. So it quickly went from like drawing out of like, lowrider magazines or Teen Angel and all that stuff. Like it went from that very quickly to doing actual graffiti.
Dude, it's amazing that you just brought up Teen Angel. I think I had seen it, but I didn't remember it. But King 157 brought it up in his interview. That was a really big influence on him.
Oh,
Actually,
did he?
yeah, he said.
Yeah, I
He
think
said
they're from out
issue.
his way,
I think so
actually.
too. Issue 1 through 100, he still has, and he says that that's his joint. And like he said that it changed after 100. I can't remember exactly what, but so that's interesting. So those magazines were also having an effect on you, as far as like cholo culture, or like sort of like Latino culture. You were seeing that not
Yeah,
only
man.
with your own eyes in your community, but also on the pages of Teen Angel. And what was the other magazine you mentioned? Lowrider Arte.
Well, they did lowrider art there, and it was like the art version of it. And
Ah,
these things were accessible because they were there at the convenience store. So
okay.
I would wait, when the new one would come out. I remember having a choice, and it'd be like, you could get a snack, or you could get a magazine. And I always
Mhm.
got the magazine, every time.
Nice.
So
And
I would like fiend for the new joints to come out.
well, and for people that don't know Denver, especially don't know Denver 1988, 89, 90, can you just kind of tell
Yeah,
us a little bit, like kind of paint a picture about what the
there
scene
wasn't
was like?
shit here.
Yeah?
It was not the city people know Denver to be. There wasn't anything here.
What was it
There's
like then?
Denver. Well, it was picture this, man. Since the since the mid 80s, every sports venue has been rebuilt, every highway has
Mm.
been rebuilt, every bridge has been rebuilt. The whole city is brand new.
Hmm.
Denver's a brand new place. At that period of time, I could walk from the north side to downtown Denver, Lodo, and not see a single person. Maybe some
Wow.
homeless, but there wasn't anything going on. There was yards everywhere. Everything was abandoned. There wasn't no money invested into it. We have the tech industry, we have the weed industry, we have all these things that are popping right
Yeah,
now.
now,
None
yeah.
of that existed. None of that
Right.
existed. If you lived in a neighborhood in Denver, you lived in the north side, south side, west side, east side. Those all surround downtown. Those were all poor neighborhoods.
And
Those
you
that was,
were
it was
a
all
North
ghetto.
Sider, correct?
Yeah, I'm from the north side. Yep.
And I'm interested because like I grew up in the Bay Area, and so I remember how that sort of cholo culture was everywhere. We saw it in the clothing, we saw it in the art, the magazines, like I mentioned, in the music, and I presume that Denver was very, very similar in that at that time.
No, we're not cholos like that. So we're like the sons and daughters of Pachuco and Cholo culture,
Mm.
and we're Chicanos, but we don't rock baldies, we don't wear the big bins,
Mm.
we don't dress like that at all.
You
We're
never did
more
that. That never was like that, even in the 80s and
well,
90s.
I'm wearing like Cortezes right now. Like I have like like we definitely dress like in a way where you knew that we were Chicano, but we
Yes.
were not like cholos at all. We never wore no hairnets, none of
Mm.
that. We're more like pretty boy style, bro. If
Mm.
I had to explain it in any way, but We didn't fuck with that. If you came to our neighborhood choloed out like that, you would stand out
Really?
real easily.
So then you
Yeah,
weren't
yeah.
wearing Big Dickies or Big Ben Davises and like
Uh-uh.
Pendletons, but what was the look then of like the Chicanos that you hung out with?
Um, it changed a lot. It changed a lot. But you know, I'm from the era, I'm like starter jacket era. You
Yeah,
know what I mean?
of
Like
course.
real straight brimmed hats.
Hmm.
You know, LA Raiders
I
shit.
was about to
Even
say,
though
was
we're
the
from
Raiders
Denver,
starter jacket the joint like in
that whole
1990?
kind
Of
of, you know,
course.
that look,
Yeah.
that was very Denver
Yo,
hood,
one of my homeboys
80s,
always gives
90s.
me grief because I grew up a Niners fan, but I had a year in junior high where I wore a Raiders starter jacket because everyone had a Raiders starter jacket, and he
Yeah.
always says
Oh
to
yeah.
me, "Oh, you 49er faithful, blah blah blah. You had a Raiders jacket," but that was just the thing. That was just the look, right?
No, there was
So,
things, you know, and it was real like that. 90s gangbang culture really influenced Denver hard. And I had a cousin who got killed over a starter jacket, Bronco starter jacket. That sort of
wow,
shit
yeah,
was really going on here, you
yeah.
know? And it still, I mean, it still is, to be honest
Well, and
with
let's talk about that gangbang culture because I know that had a big effect on you or influence on you. I mean, it sounds like from your entire childhood because you were a North Sider and the '80s gang culture everywhere on the West Coast and where you were was really taken off. How did it affect you? How did it influence you?
you. My, you know, man, the graffiti kept me out of a lot of that shit.
Mm,
Um, Graffiti kept me away from a lot of that shit because that gangbang bullshit went on deep. Like, and I say, I respect the game. I respect real gangsters, but there was a lot of drive-bys. There was a lot of innocent people getting killed.
yeah.
There was kids that got shot in the park by my house. Like we seen it, man. And then my dad was a gangbanger too, so he's an old school OG East Sider. So I seen like
Mm.
shootouts in my living room, like that sort of shit. Like was just there. It permeated everything around me, you know. So
But then you're
graffiti kept
saying
me away from
graph
that,
kept you
bro.
away from it. How did it keep you away from it?
Well, it got me out of the house, which was good. So instead of being at home around a bunch of fucking OGs, I was
Mm,
in a warehouse painting graffiti. You
mm,
know what I mean? And instead of a lot of people around like middle school clicked up and got in gangs, and the cats I clicked up with from my neighborhood were not about that shit. We were to some extent conscious with even like the whole kind of golden era hip hop going
hmm.
on, you know.
Right.
We switched it up. We were hood nonetheless, and you know, dudes I roll with will fuck you up in a minute. But
Mm.
we we weren't throwing up gang signs and wearing matching colors and doing any of that, bro. We were graph riders and hip hop heads and from the hood all at the same time.
Well, and then let's get into that because basically you said that 1990 is like the year that you attribute doing some of your first graph, or when you were basically 9 years old. So I'm really curious. Before 9 years old, you were seeing. You mentioned your dad's stuff. We understand that I mean, obviously there was gang bang and just gang graffiti, probably in many places in Denver at the time. What do you think? Like what drew you to it? What made you want to go mark something that first time when you were 9 years old?
It was neighborhood graffiti.
Mm-hmm.
It's that identity of, I'm a little kid trying to be a part of the collective identity going on around me. Very influential. So everything that I had tagged up until I was about 11 years old was neighborhood represented.
And
It said North Side. It said, yeah, basically I just wrote North Side on everything. And that was kind of my job. I hung out with a lot of older dudes. My brother's 7 years older than me, and I hung out with a lot of him and his homies. So I was like the little kid that got out of the back of the lowrider and would fucking tag the hood. And that was kind of like, and I was doing that. I'm saying I was doing that already at like 10 years old.
And was someone showing you the style that you were putting up? How were
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, man. Yeah. One of my brother's friends, a dude named Danny Quest, was putting me on the style. And there was just kind of a lot of style in my neighborhood anyways. There was, the gangs already wrote with style because you had like cholo riding and all that shit. I had that influence at home from like my dad, but
Right.
the gangs, there was a dude named Merlin in my neighborhood, and he did this tag, and then his M had a little hat on, a Merlin hat, like a little wizard's hat.
Oh, sick.
And that was super influential to me He had fat caps already and all that, and he was tagging with the style.
Mm.
So yeah, that's kind of one of the first pieces of graffiti that I kind of aspired
And what do you think
to
that
emulate.
where do you think Merlin got his influence from? Like the moment I think about like
I don't know.
well, listen,
I
when
don't
I
know,
think of
man.
like Cholo or Chicano graffiti and something with a hat, like I immediately think of Chaz, right? When he did that skull with like the fedora.
Oh yeah,
Was
Mr.
it
Lucky. Yeah.
did it have a quality like that? Was it kind of hard or was it a little bit
No,
more
no,
soft? Okay.
it looked like more so what I would consider like a New York hand style.
Okay, so it was a little bit more slightly more playful than like a gangbang kind of style.
Uh-huh. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, for
And he would
sure.
do the Merlin hat. Was it like, would he do that all with one color, like a black tag with a black Merlin hat
Well,
on the
he did
M?
pieces too, and he did. I knew where he lived. He lived across the street from the projects, and his garage had characters and all kinds of shit all over it. And I really, to this day, don't know how he got into graph. I never seen him paint with anybody.
Hmm.
I don't know at what point he stopped writing graph, but he didn't continue. He never painted with a crew.
Hmm.
He was just a dude in the hood that knew how to do it. And I would go,
What happened to Merlin?
I don't know.
Hmm.
I don't know. I'm not sure. I bet I could find out if I did enough research. But probably the same story
Yeah.
as everybody else. He probably went to jail or
Right.
some same shit. Like I
Mhm.
mean, the dude was a gang member.
Right. But you did see that in that, like, it had a different quality. It had like a well, you just said New York. I wonder if in 1990, did you know that that was kind of a New York thing yet?
Well, we had hip hop shops here pretty early.
Mhm.
So we had already had a shop down on Larimer called La Casa del Funk and like 91, 92. So we were already exposed. We could go and buy fat caps.
Ah, okay. So hip hop
fat
shop, they
laces.
sold like everything. Okay, fat laces, fat caps. Okay.
Yeah.
So and then also, I'm curious, like in 1990, you were doing Northside tags. Were you using like good paint with a fat cap, or what were you painting with?
No, not yet, but pretty quick, man, pretty quick. Because the dude Danny Quest that I mentioned to you was also into outside of the hood, like graffiti culture.
Mhm.
It was a cool thing. It was a thing that like everybody wrote graffiti in my neighborhood.
And so then, what were some of the other names? Did Danny Quest write Danny Quest, or did he have a different
Yeah, he
tag?
wrote Quest.
Quest.
Yeah, he wrote Quest.
Who
Yeah,
else
his
were you
name's Danny
seeing? Like,
Quest.
who else was influencing you? Some of the names.
There's a guy named Tralok, and this dude's like cat from Mexico. He's a gangster. But he was doing graffiti also very early on in the neighborhood. There was a lot of people, bro. Like when I say everybody did graffiti, I really mean that. Like it seemed like everybody had a tag.
And was most of it sort of somewhat gang affiliated at the time?
No,
Mhm.
no. You had both. You had like gangbang graffiti, but you also had like graffiti influenced by Style Wars and whatnot.
Yeah, and so at that hip hop shop, there was also access to stuff like that, different media like Style Wars or Subway art, spray can art, things like
Yeah,
that.
man. It didn't take very long. By the time I had hit the 6th grade, there was already a hip hop shop in my neighborhood. We would have to go downtown to Larimer to Asia's. Who's Asia right for? She is a female, man. She started the B-Boy Summit. She took that to California.
Oh wow,
Um,
really?
yeah, she still paints. She's still like I see her painting like a legal wall every once in a while. But she writes with like Till and them. She does pieces with them cats. So she was bringing a heavy influence here early on, and then before I knew it, there was a hip hop shop that popped up right in my neighborhood.
Mm-hmm.
So
And do
a
you
couple blocks
remember?
away from my house.
And actually, I want to go back a second because you had mentioned that like everybody was doing graph. It was either kind of gangbang style or a more New York style. How did those two groups mingle, or did they?
Yeah, well, I mean, we lived on the same blocks as each other.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? So we were in the same park. We all just young, like, Chicanos from Denver. So we mingled just fine. But people knew that, the graph riders weren't gangbangers, and we were separated from that.
And then did you also know that as long as you're within the north side, you would be okay riding in the north side? But if you were an east sider, let me pose this question. If you were an east sider that did non-gangbang graffiti, could you go into the north side and do your thing and without having any beef?
If you were an East Sider, you couldn't come into the North Side. Period.
No matter what kind of tagging style you did, you couldn't leave the East Side without having some kind of funk.
I mean, you just couldn't. In the 90s, you just couldn't go to another neighborhood like that. And that was the same for me. Like we knew where you were from when you rolled through. The way you dressed, the way you talked, we knew you weren't from our neighborhood. And beyond that, all we did was hang out in the streets, and we knew everybody.
Right.
So if you came through, you know, you weren't really welcome. But downtown Denver was kind of a place that was just everybody ended up in downtown. So a lot of the graffiti mixed downtown. A lot of crews met up downtown, 16th Street Mall. And that was just a central place for people to come together.
And at 16th Street Mall, was that a place where there were walls there? Or that was like a traditional mall where you would hang out?
It's an outdoor mall. It's really nice now. I mean, it still has its elements. But back then there wasn't shit going on there except for it was like kids that were ditching high school and, you know, just street kids, runaways, dope fiends, right. Hip hop heads, graph writers, all that, you know, just everybody was downtown. And yeah, there was a Coors Field, you know, where the Rockies play didn't exist. There was a warehouse there where people would go and paint. There was a place called the Inferno in Denver, which is like a 10-story building. And that's where everybody hung out. That's where, I mean, I did my first Jolt piece there. I saw my first naked woman there. Yeah, I walked in on a photo shoot going on. I shot my first gun in there.
Damn.
I mean, it was just you know what's crazy too is now these are multi-million-dollar lofts, and I have a painting in there that somebody bought from me.
Oh, really? And that's funny, dude, because on that ground you did your first painting. Did they like level the Inferno to build new stuff, or did they renovate?
No, they used it. The same building still stands.
See, and that's dope too, right? To know that your work is part of like the structure, the DNA of that building. I kind of
crazy enough, they kept the staircase the way it looked.
Oh, really?
So you can go in there and see tags from the 80s.
Oh, that's fresh, dude. That's dope.
Yeah.
And so the Inferno, cool. You had mentioned before that you had done some graffiti in a warehouse. Was that the warehouse you were talking about?
Well, the Inferno and surrounding it was another 10 warehouses. Like I said, again, Denver wasn't developed like it is. There wasn't anything going on. And it was just, man, we had the chemical yards. We had a water treatment plant, an abandoned water treatment plant that could probably fit about 2,000 pieces. You know, your average size piece.
Wow.
It
there was that
huge.
much wall space.
It was ridiculous. Were you
guys painting inside and out?
They had these big pools where the water used to go, and you could climb down in those pools. We had ropes. Climb down in these pools. There's no water in there anymore, and just kick it there and paint all day.
Sick.
And that lasted for a long time. And I had already knew of that place before I was doing graffiti from going down there in lowriders, because it was a place to kick it for like hood cats to go park their lowriders.
And so back to the Inferno, because you said basically that you did your first piece in there. We know that you were doing North Side tags in 1990, but you mentioned you did your first Jolt piece inside of the Inferno. What year was that?
93.
And so then from
93, 94, I got the photo. I got to peep it.
Really dope. And so like 90 to 93, let's say, what was happening during those years? I mean, clearly you're a kid, so you're just living a kid life, but you were also
I'm not
tagging North Side.
I'm not leaving too far from my house at that point. I'm pretty little, so I'm at the park. I'm running through the projects. I'm within a block or two from my house. So everything in that little area, with the exception of when I rode around with my big brother in his car getting outside of the hood, had little tags on it. And what I wrote was Crown. And what I did was I took it from Merlin. I wanted to rock that little hat thing, but I put a crown on my shit. So I wrote Crowns, and then the N and the S was like an N/S. So I was repping North Side at the same time.
Oh, that's pretty sick.
So, so I'm a little kid that has this name, that I made up for myself.
That's pretty dope.
And that shit's already written all over the neighborhood.
Did you put a crown on any of those letters, like Merlin had the hat?
Yeah, I rocked the crown. I took forever. I would do the little crown. I would shade it, put some jewels on it, and all that, and it hung off the C.
Oh, that's fresh. I like that. So how long did you mess around with that name, Crowns?
I don't know, man. At that point, I don't think that time is really, I'm a little kid.
Yeah.
I'm like,
Okay.
so I don't really know how long. And I went through quite a few other name changes
What were some other ones?
before. Oh man, I'd rather not even say. You know what though? If you go to my hood, people know. They'll
Yeah.
pull my card quick. Yeah, if you go to my neighborhood, motherfuckers will call me by a graffiti name I wrote when I was like
And I'm
10,
just
11
curious.
years
And
old.
I'm just curious. Do you not want to say it because it's like embarrassing, or do you not want to say it for some other reason?
I don't want to say it because I heard how you were fucking with old Swirl. Um,
Hey man, she told me. Merlot told us
you
that
even
she
said
wrote.
you said at one point, how long were you swirling it up? And that shit had me dying. I was laughing.
So check it.
Yeah.
So then 93, 94. How did Jolt become a name? How did that become something that you cared about?
So I'm b-boying at this point, and we would b-boy in the park. I definitely come from that hip hop sort of influence too. And I'm with a big group of dudes that are all b-boys, graph writers. We all do all that stuff,
Okay.
and we start making up names for each other, and they're names that are more so like, my jolt is a verb, and it's based off this action, and that's how the name was given to me. I still kick it with my homie that gave me the name
Ah, who was that? Who
back
who
then.
who ended up giving you that name?
My homeboy Manuel. He's from La Raza Park.
So
He's a cool cat.
and so Manuel, he was like, yo, he was like, did he think that you were? I guess I want to know a little bit more about how jolt became the word he gave you. I get that it's a verb. I get it's like
Okay, so
active.
so there's a dude from my neighborhood named Fiends, and this cat is a real influential dude. He's not only a gangbanger, but he's a hip hop head that's already traveling. This dude already knows like Mr. Wiggles and like the Rocksteady crew and this and that. And
Mm,
he's bringing them into our neighborhood, right? So this cat Fiend starts telling us, "Yo, y'all need some names. You need names. You need to, and he starts giving people names. So us trying to act, cool and be like fiends, we start giving each other names, and that's basically
mm.
how it came about. As my little homie was like, "Yo, I got a name for you." He's just trying to act like
Trying to
the
act like
OG
fiends.
from the
Yeah.
neighborhood.
Okay.
He's like,
Okay.
"So, yo, I like this name." Boom, and it was, it's that era where we're kids trying to find our own identity, and we're flipping through the dictionary reading every name that kind of sounds cool, or trying
Right.
out every name that you see on a product, or
Mm-hmm.
you hear in a rap song or whatever. It's like, yo, I'm gonna write this name, and then you try to write it and it don't work out, whatever.
Right.
But Jolt stuck because of I was attracted to the mirroring of the J and the T.
Yeah,
I really
definitely.
liked that.
And did you actually before that? Because like, had you done any more New Yorky or even like kind of piecing graffiti style stuff, like either on paper or on walls before you got the name Jolt?
Yeah, I'm already at that point trying to draw pieces
Mm-hmm.
with no direction. Nobody that really knew the science behind it was breaking it down to me.
Well,
So I'm drawing, really ugly, squiggly spaghetti letters on, pieces of notebook paper. For sure, I've already been doing that. I'm drawing like well-known street dudes' names from the hood,
mm,
like just taking anything girls' names. I'm drawing
right.
girls' names for them. I'm already like been doing that for a minute.
Mm-hmm. And did where was the like jumping off point? Was it like Style Wars or a book like Spray Can Art? Where were you getting those first influences to make letter shapes, even squiggly spaghetti style? Like where was that coming from?
um, I met a brother named Quickstep, who's a phenomenal b-boy still to this day, and he started really breaking it down to us, and he started showing us magazines, and I believe he showed us Style Wars, and then after that it's like straight to Blockbuster to go rent this shit and study it, and then watch it every day. Hip hop culture, I didn't see this in the Bronx outside of
Mm,
my bedroom window. I obviously
right.
seen something different, like I explained to you. It went through Hollywood, and then it came to us
Yep.
via the film industry.
Yeah, I hear that.
So it's completely
Hmm.
different lifestyle. We're hood kids from a Chicano culture, very West Coast place, catching wind of this later on in life after it had already been out for a while.
Hmm.
And, you know, we're watching Star Wars in the 90s and hype, you know, like this is amazing. It changes my whole world. And then there's hip hop shops popping up in the neighborhood. So I have access to magazines and things like that real early on.
You're talking about graph mags?
Yeah, graffiti magazines. I still have them all. Every graph mag I ever got, I still have that.
What were some of those that were like that you were getting your hands on?
Can Control. Can Control. Shit, and I'd have to break out the box and see, because
But that era, that 90s era graph magazines, you guys were getting everything up there that was available, basically. And
everything. Even Undercover was it came from like Jersey, right?
Yep.
We had those magazines. We had like Euro magazines. This guy was gonna open a dollar store in the hood, and he happened to be trying to open that across the street from where all the kids that got in trouble for graffiti did community service.
Okay.
So these teenagers went over there and told the dude, yo, you should open a hip hop shop, because, you know, we're already going downtown to La Casa del Funk and Contents, which are two different hip hop shops. And the guy did it. They took him a bunch of magazines and he ordered shit from the magazines, and he had we had a lot of Bay Area rappers come through our neighborhood to that hip hop shop.
Sure. Okay.
I seen Andre Nicotina slap the shit out of someone when I was little, like 12 years old.
Wow.
These dudes were coming through, and another thing is too, being from like the north side in Denver, we listened to a lot of Bay Area rappers because of the north side references and like Mac Dre and all that.
Sure. Yeah.
That was a big soundtrack while all this is going on. Like while I'm doing my first graffiti, there's a lot of Bay Area rap.
That's interesting to hear. And then you're seeing graph mags from basically all over the world. So that I'm also interested, because you mentioned a couple times that identity was getting formed. I know my experience with my friends who grew up in gangs, it was about identity and community, right, and belonging. When you started seeing Style Wars, all these magazines, and you see this like big culture that's coming from around the world, did that reinforce this sense of identity for you, and that you were building a community now that was kind of bigger than you?
Yeah, it did to some extent, because then we start to shape crews, and it's not a crew of cats that are like, it's the same to some extent mentality that brings gangsters together, but we're not just graph writers. We're crews of cats that are representing hip hop, so I'm hanging out with rappers and b-boys and DJs, and you start to get this sense of community for sure, because now we're going to different neighborhoods, and it's not I'm already shaking that mentality of, if you ain't from here, don't come here, and I won't go to your hood.
Okay.
We're already shaking that. We're going to different hoods to go check what other cats are doing, who's painting here, who's b-boying, what MCs are here in your neighborhood. So then you start to get that hip hop community, you start to build that.
And so would you say that like that, did you have a crew then, a name for a crew of guys that you hung out with?
Yeah, I did. I did roll around with a crew of guys called the Life Crew.
Life. What was that all about?
And, it was just a bunch of dudes from the hood that were interested in other things than what was going on around us. So it was, there's a lot of musicians that came out of that crew. There's a lot of people actually that went on to do some pretty interesting things.
And so this was kind of a hip hop crew, because you had b-boys, you had rappers.
It absolutely was. A hip hop crew of like, don't get it twisted, dudes from the hood that'll fuck you up again, that, like wild cats. But nonetheless, we were about skill.
I'm also
we were about skill and having fun, having a good time.
What was the demographics of Life Crew? Were you guys all Chicanos?
Chicanos.
Completely.
All the way through.
No white boys,
had,
no black dudes, no Asians.
No, you have black dudes, white boys, but they were all mixed, because we were from the same neighborhood.
So you guys all identified as Chicano, but you had different ethnicities.
A couple of my brothers were half black. A couple of my brothers were half white, but we were all mixed with Latin. And then later on, as we started to expand the mindset and get outside the community, then we had, my man Ichiban is Japanese, straight from Japan. My man Jonas,
he was in Life Crew?
My homeboy Jonas is Eritrean, and then later on, then we link with some Park Hill dudes, and they're white cats, and then it's across the map. Then once we leave the neighborhood.
And so were you writing Jolt when you were with Life Crew?
Yeah.
And so then let's just talk about that for a little bit. Like, what was the early progression for Jolt? Like, you did that first piece inside the Inferno. Actually, let's talk about that. What was that first piece like? That mission, the paint, the whole. Paint us the picture of that experience, that day or night.
I mean, my paint was probably racked. All my paint was racked from the beginning, you know, so I would say that much. The Inferno is a building, once again, that's 10 stories tall. It's an old flour mill loft. So I'm down there. I went by myself to do it. So I'm down there, you know, at the time, the FTRA was hiding out in the Inferno. Do you know who that is?
No.
The Freight Train Riders of America. Scummy ass like group of fucking train hoppers, dope fiends. They were there, so there was a big gang of cats, you know, hanging out in there. When the sun would go down, there was a lot of witchcraft that went on in the Inferno.
Wow.
So you have a lot of these, you know, but those kind of things didn't resonate with me as being fears, because I'm down there painting to get away from a much scarier environment.
Right.
Like, mind you, I'm telling you, my dad is some big crazy biker dude giving tattoos at the kitchen table, like shooting at motherfuckers in the kitchen. So being down there around those sorts of, you know, dangers was more so of a freedom and a place to find peace of mind. So I remember doing that piece for sure. I thought it was tight.
and what did it look like? What was the style? What would you say it was?
It was black and white. It was black and white Jolt. And I remember I hit the end of both sides with an arrow. It might have had 2 arrows on each side, but it had the kickouts from the top bars on the J and the T turn into arrows. And, you know, very simple, but to me, I felt like I was doing something kind of complex at that moment.
Like, you also said that you racked your paint. Where were you racking that from?
Kmart, the Army surplus store. There was an Army surplus store you would pass on the way to the yard.
So what kind of paint did they have? Was it Krylon? Was it
Rusto and Krylon?
Okay. And
they had old Rustos still. So I remember in the 90s getting like icy grape and like chrome yellows and Krylons and shit like that, and all them old paints that had just been sitting on those shelves forever. Nice. If I knew to put them away. Yeah, right. But I just fat cap blasted through all that.
That's good, man. That's the way to learn. And so you went into the Inferno, you did this black and white Jolt piece, and you were pretty happy with it. You said you still have the photos. How does
I still got the photo.
How does it stand up today?
You know, it's not bad. It's not bad. There, you could definitely tell the structure of the letters was there. I appreciate letters, right? We're talking about letters. That's the name of the game. And I've always had that appreciation for good, solid letters. I do fine art. I do large scale murals. I do conceptual work. I express myself in all sorts of ways, but that letter structure, that evolution of linguistics, that is important to me.
Nice. Yeah. I think it's important to a lot of people too. I mean, I'm just guessing. I know it is to me. And so then what happened next? Like did you rock that piece? Did people see it? Did the life crew, were they feeling what you did?
No, people seen it. People seen it. I had a reputation in my hood early because of my graffiti. People seen it. People knew. It stayed up. It stayed there for years.
Really?
After I painted it, yeah.
And so then can you just talk about like the next, like what was the next year like? Like you've now solidified yourself as Jolt, your life crew, like you have this identity and this community. Did you go all out? I mean, I know you're still a kid. In fact, if you did that in did you say you did that in 93?
Yeah.
So 93,
94.
12 years old, 13 years old, about to start high school, or you're in high school. And actually, that's a question. What was the high school like that you went to? Were a lot of kids writing?
I went to North High School.
Okay.
And around that time, the popular phase of writing graffiti had started to burn out, and gangbanging was coming back in, but it was changing. So my neighborhood went from what would be kind of like a Chicago-style gangbang culture. Every gang had their own different colors, their own slang. They wrote different, to eventually everybody wore red. And it became Norteños. Northsiders then became, because of things going on in prison or whatnot, became a part of the bigger set of being Norteños. And gangbanging came back with that. So when I'm in high school, all these dudes that were like nerds in middle school and shit are now like linked up and started gangs, you know, or they're now Norteños.
Wow.
I just didn't fit in with that, man. And I'm, you know, at that point in my life, I'm so burned out by a lot of lifestyle choices that I had made that I'm already on some straight edge shit by the time I hit high school, like not drinking, not associating with a lot of people. So I'm just on some loner shit. I'm only in high school really to get the girls, and I'm doing graffiti. Like I'm on the solo, not really clicked up
and
with
so
a lot of people.
Were you still hanging out at this point with the Life crew guys, or had you even separated?
Yeah, I'm still hanging out with them. They're all older than me though.
Okay.
So these dudes is all already like at this point graduating high school, you know, a lot of them and going on with their, like going to the military, moving out of Denver, doing other things in their life. But yeah, I'm still hanging out with them. I'm still hanging out with cats from my neighborhood. None of the dudes from my neighborhood even necessarily went to high school, to be honest. So I was, you know, I was real solo, like in high school, man. I really did my own thing. And I wasn't even there that much either, to be honest with you.
Okay. So then throughout the like 4 years of high school, was graph, was it important to you? Were you doing it on the regular?
I'm doing it a lot at that point. I'm already traveling to other cities when I'm supposed to be in high school, racking, sleeping on folks' couches. I'm linked up with Menace at that point from Box Stars, Ristras, RTD crew. And Menace is about to go to prison, so he leaves me with all his shit, like all his magazines, all his photos he'd collected.
Oh, wow.
So that just even put like another battery in my pack at that point.
Yeah,
where it's like, damn, this like super OG dude, you know, just gave me all this game right before he goes and gets locked up. It's like, yo, you know, what you do is the truth, you know, keep doing you. Here's all my stuff. Hold on to it till I get out. I sure enough did too. A decade later, I gave him his stuff back.
Dope. Wow.
So
how did you actually meet? How did you meet Menace? How did that happen?
He walked up on me, man. Menace is a scary dude. He's a big, or at that point he was, and I was much littler. But Menace is a big guy. And he just walked up and he seen me looking at graffiti on a computer at this place where I was getting my GED, this kind of alternative high school. And Menace was there because they were helping him use the computers because he was making a graffiti magazine called Route 144. This is an early graph mag. I'll send you some copies of it. Early mag, and not many were produced, but it's full color. Done really well. Route 144 is like the train line that comes through Colorado. He had a concept there. It was dope. It was dope.
How long was that mag around? I never heard of it.
I think he did like 2 issues.
Okay. And so you met it. He just walked up on you because you were both in this same place. And what was it like? Was he like, yo?
I was beefing with one of his little homies. So this is a new era in Denver graffiti at this point, and this is my era. The cats I still am most hype on in Denver graffiti. This is when Regal and Coz, myself, like we're all the same age. We're all dudes that are from the hood, different hoods in Denver. But me and Coz are beefing, and Menace is down with Coz. Coz is little homie. So Menace comes up to me and is like, squashes that beef right away. But I'm super intimidated by this guy. He's like, yo, you guys are gonna be cool. Y'all gonna paint together, you know. You guys are gonna rep. You guys are the future of this shit, and that's really how it went down. And Coz my homie still to this day. We don't paint together or anything. He has his crew, he does his thing, but that's my brother, you know.
That's pretty cool, man. So Menace was like on some. He squashed it. He tried to smooth it out. Interesting.
Yeah.
So Menace must have. He already knew of you enough to say, nah, don't have beef. Paint together. And kind of build each other up. Okay.
I'm a bomber, man. Still, you know, to this day, I very much so enjoy the essence of what graffiti has always been to me. And though I went through phases of types of things that I like, I'm the type of cat that likes to pull a marker out of my pocket and catch a hand style. And I've always been that way. So I'll always be present in my city. You know, the bigger graffiti community might not be aware of who I am, but if you say you came through Denver and you don't know who I am, you didn't come through Denver.
Yeah,
you painted with them cats in the suburbs that think they're from Denver. And that's just the truth,
true.
You know, like that.
That is true. Yeah. I've been out there. I've seen you. You're everywhere. And so I'm really interested in now this thing with Menace, because if Menace then kind of squashed that thing, did you paint with Menace? Did you guys hang out, paint trains?
We never got to paint because he went to prison.
Mm.
He went to prison. But I hung out with him a lot to understand the mindset behind his graph.
Hmm.
He had a lot of things going on at the point where he had kind of intervened into my life.
Okay.
And graffiti was the last thing on his mind, you know.
Did he start RTD?
Menace didn't start RTD, but Menace is the reason why RTD was in different cities, because Menace was the train dude, and he kind of understood graffiti on a bigger level of outside of Denver. But no, RTD was started by, I believe, my homeboy Shoop, and maybe like Jimmy Zez. I know the story, man. RTD some real shit. Those are my homies. Respect to them, you know. I never wrote for RTD. I was asked to be down with RTD. It wasn't the look for me. I never got down with big crews like that because I come from a neighborhood culture where like I said, I still roll with the dudes that are from my neighborhood.
Right.
We've always had crew, you know, like any crew come fucking with me. I got a lot of cousins. You don't want to do that. But, you know, and they don't write graffiti and they don't care about this shit.
Yeah.
They care about me.
Right.
But I never got down with the bigger crews. But I believe RTD, real as fuck as they are, was started on Colfax and Logan because Shoop and one of the other homies were like out there selling crack.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. And much respect to RTD. I thought for some reason maybe you were a little bit closer, but that's it. Actually, someone did try to get you down, but
and I'm really tight with a lot of them dudes on different levels. A lot of them are my homeboys, you know.
Well, and you know, I'm interested in like, cause now we're about at the mid '90s. What year did you finish that GED?
It was before I should have graduated, so I should have graduated in 2000, but I probably already had my GED at like around 98, 99.
So now,
I got it right before Paint Lewis 99, actually.
Oh, wow. In 98, 99, now you're done. You're done with school. What was your mindset at that time? Were you thinking about work? I mean, you said your friends went into the military. Some people just left. What were you thinking about doing?
I was stacking money. I was already buying old classic cars, and I was traveling, and, you know, I sold drugs. I sold drugs for most of my life. I've never had a real job. Not that I'm afraid of hard work. Don't get it twisted. If there's work to be done, I'm on it. But I've just always worked smarter and not harder, man. And I've had my career as an artist since I was 20 years old. Working as an artist up until that point. Mind you, I said, you know, I'm straight edge once I hit high school. I'm sick of, you know, a lot of things surrounding me, but I'm still hustling. I'm hustling, and I'm making money now because I'm not partying. I'm not getting high. I'm selling sheets of acid already when I start writing graffiti. So street life, street culture shit's been in me.
Yeah, exactly. And so then did you just like if you were making money selling cars, how did you balance things? Like, were you painting on the weekends? Were you bombing at night, working in the day? What did it look like back then?
No job, bro. I've never had a job, so this is my lifestyle. I usually don't know what day it is, still to this day. I usually don't know what time it is. That's not really how I've ever operated. So all I'm doing is hanging out with ladies, doing graffiti, making money, and traveling, going places and sleeping on people's couches. And I'm racking also at the same time, like, you know, racking paint, racking clothing, racking stuff to sell.
What were some of the cities that you were going to paint when you were out in Denver?
Cali, I really enjoyed LA, San Diego. I went to San Diego and didn't even want to come home. Ended up staying out there like way longer. You know, and this is at a young age. So around that time I had went to Chicago, New York already. My brother moved to New York, so my brother's in New York. I'm getting pictures. He's sending me pictures of New York graffiti at that point. I'm seeing graph, you know, from New York that's going on.
Nice.
Yeah, so I'm just traveling around being, you know, a young fucking dirtbag graffiti writer.
Okay, and you're driving. You just had you jump in your car and you would leave Denver and drive down to San Diego.
Yeah, we did. We definitely did some road trips when we could, you know, and that would only really occur if we could convince somebody to drive.
Okay.
some kid that like came from like a well-to-do family that had a car.
Ah,
That was
okay.
kind of the scenario.
Uh-huh.
But yeah, a lot of times I'm flying, and understand, I'm from the hood. My family never left Denver. My
Hmm.
mom just got on a plane maybe 5 years ago for the first time.
Wow.
So I'm doing
Cool.
all this by myself. I'm going to
Hmm.
Atlanta, but when I'm 17, 16. I'm going to Birmingham, Alabama, places that I would never even. And a lot of this was because of graffiti connections.
Well,
I
that's what
was
I was
able to
wondering.
network.
Was all of that travel to see other writers and to do graph, or was it more than that?
Oh man, yeah, no, it was really just graffiti. It
Hmm.
was really just graffiti. Just that's what I was doing, and I'm meeting people, and people are coming here to Denver. A lot of writers know my mom. Funny enough, you could
Really?
call my house and ask for Jolt, or the house where my mom used to live, and she'd be like, yeah, let me get him, because people would stay at my family's crib, and my dukes would like cook meals, and my mom's a very sweet lady, and she took care of a lot of people,
Wow,
that would
that's
come to
cool.
Denver and end up like not leaving.
Hmm.
Portland writers, I remember coming out here staying at the crib. Cali writers, Chicago dudes.
Wow,
Forever we
interesting.
just had people staying at my
That's
parents'
cool. And
house.
your mom was all about it. She was good with it.
She's still good with it to this day, man. She still owns that house. She don't even live in there, and the house is really just a place where people can stay. And we just had the
Wow.
entire burn unit crew come out and stay in the crib. We still, that's just it. Doors are always open.
Dude, that's
We've
pretty
always
cool,
been very
man. And
welcoming.
that's awesome. So you're doing all this traveling around, you're piecing around, which obviously means you're getting a ton of influence now. I mean, you can see a graph mag from wherever, right? But it's to see it with your own eyes is different. How did it start to affect your style, all of that travel and your letters?
Um, just sharpening it up. I've always kept a black book.
Hmm.
I've always drawn. I've always taken things that I see that I'm influenced by and try to adapt them to my style.
Hmm.
Um, so, and at the same time, this is also growing my character. So, we're starting this story from me telling you that I don't want this to be a representative of who I am
Hmm.
fully to this day. My character is growing at the same time. I'm not just some cat that's, stuck in the hood and racking and just
Right.
bombing and doing all that. I'm also, I'm meeting different people where, again, I'm from a neighborhood where we're all Latinos and
Hmm.
we're all the same, so I'm going to the South and,
Right.
meeting people that are completely different than
Yeah.
anything. And so not only my graffiti style is expanding, but just my character in general,
Right.
because of the influences that came with traveling.
Yeah, yeah, which is one of the great benefits, right, of being able to travel. You just like broaden everything. Your outlook just gets really big. And I'm really interested because we haven't even touched on it, and we're already almost at the year 2000. When did the gorilla come into play? When did the gorilla garden happen?
When did the gorilla come into play? Let's see. I'm not exactly sure. Again, like timelines, time frames, that I don't know. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
I really
Well, if you had to
don't
take
know.
if you had
But
to take a
it's
guess, were you doing it in
if
high
I had to
school?
take no, not in high school,
Okay.
not in high school, and I've already been bombing like the streets under the name Jolt
Right.
long enough to where the gorilla comes about because my name was hot.
Mm-hmm.
I'd put my name up enough to where it was time to switch it up.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't want to write a different name. Every time that I do that, I regret it because I see this shit that I did that I'm like, man, I wish it would have said Jolt. Like I should. So, and there was all these rooftops that were, just a little bit peeking out, but you couldn't really fit any letters up there. And that's where the gorilla came about.
On
I had the name
rooftops.
already. I had the Gorilla Garden name for the company. So it was just a matter of creating a logo, basically. But then being a bomber, I create this logo. I try to do something legit, and I just bomb the fucking gorilla everywhere. So
Mm-hmm.
then, so then the gorilla becomes hot eventually, and then then I gotta switch it up and do something else or something else.
Well, and
But
like, can you tell us, like, for people that don't know, like, what's the point of the gorilla? What's the gorilla garden? What is it? You said it's a company. What is it?
yeah, yeah. So what I do for a living is I sell fine art. I do the whole gallery stuff. I'll do commercial murals. I do large scale public art too, though. I
Mm-hmm.
have some really big murals here in Denver, in the communities, and but I also do creative consulting, and I'm a curator. So and a director, and I do a lot of things creatively. So that's what my company, that's what we do. Those are, the services that we offer. I'm at this point when I'm starting this company, I've been hustling my whole life. I'm a business-minded person.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a creative person. I'm always doing art. While I'm doing graffiti, I'm still doing all sorts of different types of art.
Sure.
The whole way through my whole life. I meet a old lady at a bar one day, and she's telling me about these guerrilla gardens that she used to plant in New York. Lady knew Andy Warhol. She was this really cool little old lady. And the whole time she was talking about these gardens, I appreciated how she was talking about it because it sounded like how I wanted to speak about graffiti.
Kind of
at
renegade,
that point, I'm not
doing something for the community without permission.
Yeah, I'm not feeling so
something.
destructive. Like, I'm not
Right.
feeling like when I'm out bombing that there's angst there. That teenage
Right.
angst is
Right.
kind of a thing of the past.
Yeah,
Like,
you're actually creating. You're constructing something. Right?
yeah, and even though I'm doing shit illegally and all that,
Yeah.
my mindset is way more constructive.
Sure.
So what she was saying made perfect sense to me. So I was like, yo, I'm gonna adapt that name for my company when it comes time to doing this stuff legitimate, because that explains it all. When people ask me the name, this is what we're doing. We're building. We're not taking away. We're adding to.
Mm-hmm.
So that's kind of the idea. But then the gorilla comes about, and my gorilla gets embraced in a whole other way though. Later on,
Talk
I don't know
that. What was the embrace like?
because there's people that roll around Denver with the gorilla tattooed on them. It's embraced by my neighborhood. I'm so ingrained in the culture of the community that what I do represents the community, whether I choose for it to do so or not. And Northsiders rock that gorilla. My gorilla, they wear that. They represent that if you see somebody in Denver with it tatted, chances are they're not down with Gorilla Garden, but they're a Northside.
Mm-hmm. What does it mean?
I've been painting walls. I've been out painting walls in my hood and had the little youngsters come up and be like, yeah, that's our gorilla. Not even acknowledging that I'm there creating it.
Wow.
And I realized that, and it's like, yo, man, I put it out into the universe, and if it gave people something that represents something bigger, then I'm all for it. I'll kindly step aside and let the gorilla be what it's going to become.
So in a way, it became this icon, this cultural icon for the North Side.
Yeah, well, and even just Denver on a bigger picture, because a lot of the projects I do, mind you, I'm saying this is a city that didn't have shit. Right. Fast forward present day, this is a city that's losing complete neighborhoods through gentrification. It's starting to look like a prepackaged city in a way.
Yeah.
And what I do is so culturally relevant and has its presence that now the gorilla represents that to people. It represents Denver culture. So the North Side is no longer the North Side. They've rebranded the name and all that, but I have different projects I'm doing in different hoods now. I have a project called the West Side Walls. So people come to the West Side and they come to the West Side Walls, see all these pieces. They also see the gorilla. So now it's a part of this environment. Now it's a part of this community.
But it is a business. Ultimately, you created it as this entity to build things, like you said, creative consultancy, among other things. Then it became this larger cultural icon that people identify with Denver. And does it go further than that? Have you ever thought how far that gorilla could reach beyond Denver?
Yeah. I mean, I see it painted here in Denver to this day, but I get pictures of where people are painting it, all over. They just see it and bite it. And you know what? The gorilla in itself is really just a B-boy character. It's really just a classic B-boy character, just altered to be. Yeah, it's a Muggsy. He got the Muggsy. He's rocking the Muggsy. And that Muggsy, there's something about it that people like that, man. I don't think it's so much that it's a gorilla. I think it's that Muggsy. It's that grin that it has. Yeah. And it resonates. But yeah, I have a pretty good lawsuit under my belt that I can't get too much into, but the gorilla definitely became a payday later on.
So someone used it and you said, no, you're not using it. And then,
someone used it and I stepped to them and so it became, in that way it became a payday. And then, Gorilla Garden, a lot of people we support a lot of different things, so a lot of people take it as a literal sense too.
Hmm. Hmm.
And there's you just it's there, man. It's just all over at this point, you know.
That's pretty cool. And so, were you doing this in the were you doing it in the early 2000s?
Yeah.
And
Hmm.
then were you how would you split your time? Like if you're going out on a Saturday night, it's 2 a.m., you're going to go bombing, would it just be like, well, I did a huge gorilla last night, so tonight I'm going to do a big Jolt piece? Or was it like just either or? How did that work out? How'd you choose?
Yeah, no, if I'm street bombing, I'm either doing tags or the gorilla. At
Hmm.
that point, I'm not doing like jolt throwies on the
Hmm.
street.
Okay.
My throw became the gorilla. Um, and if I'm painting trains or I'm painting walls, I'm rocking jolt pieces.
Hmm. I'm really interested also in how the internet changed everything out in Denver, like just like the way, like maybe we could say Facebook, but even pre that, like MySpace and Flickr. How did that start to influence everyone's experience of graffiti in Denver, at least in your opinion?
Um, yeah, I mean, the internet changed the world. You know what
Of
I mean?
course.
Um, and it definitely changed things that have a social element to them,
Hmm.
because now you have boards where people are talking about it
Right.
and no longer doing it. Now people could just talk about it. And, like,
Right.
I'll just go ahead and say it because I heard you ask this question for a lot of people, to a lot of people. The internet created a lot of bitch ass motherfuckers at the same time.
Yo,
It really did,
there we
because
go.
style now became, you could, like, good paint is everywhere at this point too, so
Right.
it's easier to do pieces, and the style just became a mesh of whoever was trending on the internet, like, whoever was popular on the internet at
Sure.
that time. Everybody coming up had this style that was just all those guys style
Hmm.
together.
Hmm.
You start to get, I never been one for the networking unless you come through an avenue of somebody I know personally, that I would consider a friend. I'm not really trying to network and kick it.
Okay.
Again, my mindset has never been about that, with the graph. So, internet brought about all these dudes that are, Cather and crews that they got down with via the internet.
Hmm.
And, I don't, it just, yeah, it didn't resonate with me, man. It really didn't. I
Yeah.
probably talked some shit to a few cats on the internet and tried to, like, holler at some female graffiti writers or something. But other than that, like, it's still to this day, like, I don't do e-feedy. You know what
Okay.
I'm saying? I don't. You're not gonna see me like, preview to the piece I'm about to do. Here's the
Hmm.
sketch. I can't
Okay.
wait. I'm putting it up now. I'm not like I'm not one of them dudes. Even though I trust me, I'm just like everyone else. Though I like Instagram. I like updating my
Of
shit.
course. Yeah.
I like sharing with the world what I'm doing. But that's not always graffiti.
Hmm.
And my graffiti doesn't. My graffiti lives better in the streets.
Hmm. I hear that. I
Um,
respect that
you know.
too. And like, so then I'm also curious, like you mentioned that all the paint came in like kind of early 2000s, and that was a game changer for all of us to get boutique paints that were just so much more easy to manipulate. And I know you have all those hip hop shops. Were they supplying you like European paint? Were you getting that?
Um, yeah. Well, those shops didn't sell paint. But later on, the shops that did come about had boutique paint,
Hmm.
fancy paint later on. So there's always been access to it here since like I first seen Montana hardcore and
Hmm.
Boughton
Okay.
and all that first come out. Yeah.
And on that topic of access, like I'm interested in, and I don't want to jump too fast, but in those 2000s, like you mentioned, you're in Burn Unit, which is Totem's crew. You're NWC, which is a New York City crew.
Yeah.
Um,
Rest in peace, DG.
Absolutely. How'd you get affiliated with those guys? Who gave you access to them?
So I was put down in NWC by DG, and I was put down in Burn Unit by Totem. Totem and I have been friends for years. I've known Totem over a decade now.
And was that
Um,
from that trip out to Atlanta when you were 17?
no, man, no. That was from working at the X Games, believe it or not. I got put up in a house with a bunch of writers. That's how I know AREC too. Um,
Okay.
doing some like commercial graph. At Pose was out there with us too.
Which X Games was that?
Um, what's that?
What X Games was that? What year?
I don't know. Again, yo, I'm hella bad
Okay, right. Do you remember
with
what city?
timelines,
Was it
man.
Denver?
I'm not sure. But it was in Aspen. It was Aspen X
Ah,
Games.
Aspen. Okay.
That would have been, that would have been about 10 years ago
Okay. All
right
right.
now. So I'm not the popular graph cat like these dudes are.
Mhm.
But I don't know. I think I was there by default because I'm from Colorado.
Okay. But
So
you had
they
also
needed
made a
someone
name
to.
for yourself, right, in Denver. So people they took
Yeah,
notice.
oh yeah, in
Hmm.
Denver for sure. But none of these guys have ever been here,
Hmm.
And if they did, they painted with like some old retired writer that does legal walls or something. They weren't in my environment.
Sure.
So yeah, so I end up in this like really fly house with all these dope writers. So that was where my friendship with T begun,
That's
and
pretty cool. And you met a
that's
whole
my
bunch of other
brother, man.
dudes.
That's my ace. That dude
Nice.
is phenomenal.
Yeah. So it was 2007 when you got put down with Burn Unit?
No, that's when Totem and I became friends.
Okay.
I didn't get put down with Burn Unit until like 2 years ago,
Oh,
and
okay.
that's after I became tight with almost everybody in the crew.
Okay.
So the Burn Unit is a real crew. I'm down with Burn Unit because of the fundamentals of what Burn Unit represents, and everybody in that crew is a personal friend of mine.
And
You know what I
can
mean?
you talk
Like,
about those fundamentals? What are they?
absolutely, man. We got there's a brotherhood there, and I got some sisters in the crew too, and our kids play together, and our kids are coming up under the values that we put out there. We're very
Nice.
like-minded. We do the same things. We're about bettering ourselves and pushing ourselves to be the best us that we can be. You know what I mean? And
Mm-hmm.
we take no shorts, man. It's about burning too. It is about doing burners. If I
Mm-hmm.
paint next to you, I am trying to burn your shit.
Nice.
Without a doubt. I'm really like I'm sharpening my skills for that day, and when I come out, I'm coming to paint. And
Mm-hmm.
it's all love and camaraderie, but I really want my piece to burn yours.
Hell yeah. And I like that idea that like steel sharpens steel. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
And like
absolutely.
that can be your partner right next to you, but there's that little bit of competition and it makes each other better, right? It makes you guys
Oh,
stronger
when
for
I
it.
paint with Totem, bro, I know that I'm gonna get burned,
Yeah.
but I damn sure am going to try.
Yeah.
And that day that he's off and I'm on
Yeah.
and I burn his shit, I'm gonna let him know.
Right. Yeah, definitely. And he'll respect you
But
for it.
it's just all love, it's all
Hmm.
love. That's fun to me.
That's cool. And so then let's just go back a little bit. So you met him at the X Games in about 2007, and you guys kept in touch, obviously. What else was and you met some other cats there. How did you get into NWC? How'd you meet DG?
So I met DG through Kite, TMR RIS NWC, KITE. Kite lives here in Colorado. I don't paint with anybody. I'm very, very like reserved when it comes to linking up with writers, like I mentioned.
Mhm.
Kite and I get along really well. We're good friends. Outside of the graffiti thing, we're good friends. That's my homie. So I paint with Kite. I paint with Kite more than probably any other writer. And through hanging with Kite, he starts to bring all these New York dudes out here.
Mm-hmm.
And DG being one of them. And DG and I hit it off right away. DG and I were good homies before his passing. So
And so he put you down. What year was that you got put down?
that would have been, I don't know. Again, I'm not sure. I know you. I can picture you. You're chronologically like you're creating this timeline.
Try
I feel
to.
like
We
this is gonna
try.
turn into maybe a book or something.
But listen,
so that's
we don't have
dope.
to. We don't have to be so dedicated to it. I mean, has it been?
Whenever the book is published, when you ask those questions,
It's funny you
just
say
put a
that.
little bud leaf next to mine, and that'll explain everything.
That's good, man. Okay. But so obviously the DG was still around and he put you down. I mean, that must have been actually both of those must have been a big deal to get put down in a crew like
Absolutely.
NWC or
Those are
Burn
both
Unit.
writers that I respected.
Yeah.
DG was somebody who I was like, yo, you're DG? Salute. You are dope.
Right.
Pleasure to meet you.
Yeah.
And still to this day, DG represented that spirit of graffiti better than anybody I've ever met.
Nice.
Dude, you would call like 4 a.m, like, yo, Joe, yo, man, I saw that gorilla, yo, that shit. He would be so hype on something that he's seen that he would call and wake you up to talk about it.
That's dope.
Because that's where his energy was. And then I believe he'd probably get off the phone and go bomb.
Right.
You know, like he just really had that spirit of everything that I love about graffiti.
Yeah. And you know, I'm also interested in how like the past few years, like with Instagram, like I think that you've kind of blown up. You've gotten a lot bigger. More work is coming to you, and you've made more work for yourself. You seem very self-made, which is, I think, admirable.
Yeah.
I think people respect that. Do you think that you're always going to be working towards like bettering yourself by bettering others around you?
Yeah, I think so, because you know, my focus is cultural development with everything that I'm doing. So even if I'm throwing a big party, there's an underlining cultural aspect to that. And reason being is I seen this city go from nothing to being a popping place. Denver's dope. Like Denver is a fresh city to live in. It's clean. Crime isn't really crazy. Like, you know, if you're not looking for trouble, you more than likely are not going to find it. Right. And I seen my city change, but at the same time, I seen the culture of it disappear from a place that's all we had. So seeing that, I realized that I've survived as a professional artist since a long time ago, and there still isn't really an industry here for people to do so in Denver. Like if I was in New York or LA, I'd be out there getting them cats money, because that's just my mindset. So I've been able to do so here, but my thoughts behind that are, we got to elevate the culture of this city, so when the city builds up, we raise up with it, and this industry continues to be built. So when people are looking for that Denver experience, it's artists like myself and others that are getting paid, that are the ones that are able to have a career and support their family in the city that we made.
Well, listen, man, I gotta say, dude, this has been a really illuminating conversation on, like, you know, we moved around a lot, you know, we jumped topics and it was great. I am interested though in like what you think is next in your graph, because I mean, I know you got West Side Walls, which actually, why don't you plug that a little bit?
Yeah, so West Side Walls was me taking a block in the West Side. So I moved to the heart of the West Side, and I'm not very low profile, man. Like people know where I live. Like I live on a busy street above a really busy business, and I have my studio up there and everything. And we park, I mean, out front, we have cars on rims parked out there. Like we're not low profile, you know? And the West Side Walls thing was another opportunity to further build up that culture of Denver, because again, I told you, my neighborhood, the North Side, has disappeared. It's gone. You know, it's does not even resemble the same place. The West Side really does. It really still has that Denver thing. So what I did was I came straight to the West Side, the heart of it, and I took a whole city block and started painting it. Everything on the city, on every little wall, every little piece. And there's a book that coincides with it that a museum is publishing for me called the Foothills Museum.
Oh, that's cool.
And it's this idea of what happens when you eliminate these borders where your yard ends and you step into the alley. And what happens when you eliminate that, and the alley becomes a place where people are coming out and being social and talking. And this is a city alley, man. There's at least like 10 homeless people that live in the alley where all these walls are. And that's their home as well. So I'm just telling the story of everybody that's here. I'm documenting. I'm doing a lot of writing with it, and more so than anything, I'm just out there painting walls all the time. Just doing that little project right here on the West Side, and then I also have the Cold Facts, which is similar in intent, but Colfax Avenue is the longest strip in America. This is the longest running avenue in the United States. And it goes from East Denver all the way to the mountains. And this street was built as a means of getting to the gold. And the development of the street reflects that, because there's a lot of mansions, but the mansions are now turned into little, like, one bedroom fucking, like, low income crack shacks and shit. It's crazy. Colfax is a wild ass street. So I'm producing, scripting, and hosting a docu-series called The Cold Facts as well.
That's dope. When can we see or hear or get onto that?
You can check my Instagram right now. I just uploaded a new little episode a couple of days ago.
Okay,
So
nice.
people can look at The Cold Facts, COLDFAX.
Okay.
Follow that Instagram, or my personal one, which is Gorilla Garden, which is GUERILLA.
And that's, so you have at Gorilla Garden, at Cold, COLD Facts.
Yeah.
Is there any other place that we can find your work or contact you, hire you?
Yeah, gorillagarden.com.
Mm-hmm.
People can go there. I came a long way, bro, from this, even through this conversation, but, from starting in the hood,
Yes, sir.
being a cat just with a GED, I was, I've managed to create a career for myself. And you can see all that on the website. It's not updated, but our old shit is tight.
Yeah, and dude, and you have a daughter and you have a wife and everything, and you're doing things, and like, I mean, you said something really early on that basically graffiti, it kind of saved you from the streets, from yourself in a way,
Absolutely.
And so and I'm so happy, dude, that we just got to put this all on recording, document this whole thing, so that one day, your story will be with all these others, and to hear a story like yours, a self-made dude from the hood, it's inspiring. It's cool, man.
Yeah, I appreciate what you're doing. I see the importance of that. I see being able to think about it, the bigger picture.
Yeah.
We're gonna have this documented somewhere where people have access to this.
Yeah.
So right. This further resonates and influences people. I love that. I love seeing what Roger Gassman is doing with all his projects.
Absolutely.
I love, this is all pushing the culture, man, and yeah. That's dope.
And because, especially with like the administration we have now, like they would want us to go away in a heartbeat if they could, but we're not going anywhere. And in fact, we're just going to stay here and keep making, and I just want to be able to help preserve that and give back. And so, and dude, I got to thank you, man. This has been great. Thank you for spending the time today and like being personal and letting us into your world and letting us kind of poke around and hear. So yeah, dude, thank you.
Yeah. For sure, brother. For sure. Likewise. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah. And respect to BA crew and all y'all doing your thing,
Yes,
badass
sir.
Motherfuckers. I respect that.
This has been great. Thank you so much. I think that's it.
For sure, man. All right, cool. Well, I'll talk to you soon.